Okay, hi. Hello, everyone. It has been an interesting evening. It was one of those things where I got some new cameras. And I got, hello, Nathan, and thank you for joining. So I got some new cameras and I have been working on getting them set up. And it turns out that, installing the new cameras reset a few things. So my sound was not behaving. So if for some reason, some unknown reason, my microphone is too loud, let me know and I will adjust that, because I might have been overcompensating in one direction when I should have been going the other direction. But I am so happy to be here this evening. I know a few of you joined me last week when I was doing the stream test just to see how it all worked out, and it seems to have gone well. In fact, I'm looking at my channels and both of them are looking quite happy, so yay, thumbs up to that one. So basically what I had done last week was read you some excerpts from the book called The Dark Angel. Now, hello, Johnny Cooper. Oh, geez. That's late. That's late in the UK. The other thing I wanted to make sure that I had going, because I realized after the fact, is I now have the chat viewable so that for those of you who are on Twitch, you can see what the people on YouTube are saying, and for those of you on YouTube can see what the people on Twitch are saying, and all that goodness is kind of mixed together, and then we're all one big happy newsling group. Hello, HC Magic. Thanks for coming in. So finally Friday. Yes, let's relax. Jersey City, not too far from me. I am a non-native Jersey girl. So what happened was, I'm not in trouble. Let me preface this. I'm not in trouble. I am avoiding trouble. Because it turns out that because of when the book was published, it's not technically fully clear out of copyright, so it's not for public domain. What I did last week is perfectly fine. I just read excerpts from the book, just sort of acting as a teaser, if you will, and getting people interested in the book. And because I have links and everything like that, it was basically a free advertisement. It's also a book that hasn't really been popular in reprint, but to play it safe, to make sure I'm not getting a very firm slap on the wrist, I am moving my selections to what's called public domain. Now, little factoid, if you want to read something book-wise that is open to everyone, the rule is basically you have to make sure it is the year of the author. This is very morbid, forewarning, content warning, we're talking about death. Hello, Jeremy! So basically, if you were to read a book in full on social media, on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, whatever, you have to be sure the book is in public domain. For it to be in public domain, you have to take the year of the author's death and add 70 years. That was not the case with The Dark Angel. I think I am not even in that option yet. So I still wanted to keep it fun. I still wanted to keep it something where a lot of what is read in this could be used for ideas for running games, coming up with encounters, even sort of like one-shots, mini campaigns type of thing. So I put up this poll on Twitter, and I actually had 4 books pulled together. It was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Classic Dracula, The Lady in White. Did I grab that one? No, Island of Dr. Moreau. And then it was Grimm's Fairy Tales. Okay, so I put the poll up there and it was actually super close. I was amazed at how close the polls were. So I think I'm going to keep doing the polls things when it comes time to what are we going to do for story time this go around. So it was Grimm's Fairy Tales that won out. And I got this book. Okay, lovely little book. This is from Amazon. I want to say it was like $11. And it's the complete works, which means I have all of the Grimm's Fairy Tales in here. It even has some pictures, so that's fun. I think the last non-game related book with pictures was from quite a while ago, like, little kid books when they used to have story time. So what I thought would be fun is I'll just go through here and I will read a collection of some of these stories, because they're actually shorter. They're like, 3 or 4 pages long, maybe even 2. But before we do that, I got some goodies that are tabletop related, and I wanted to give some shout outs to some local, well, not local, but some, you can get these online. Hello, Synaptic Fire, how are you? So I thought it would be really cool when I do these things. I kind of want to share people in our community who do these wonderful little, small businesses, home businesses type of situation. And y'all know your girl likes her dice. And I do. I am a little dice goblin fiend. Just gimme the pretty math rocks. It's not funny anymore how much I love them. So There is this lovely person on Twitter. The @ is Plantomancer, but they own the Arcane Flora, and they make these really beautiful dice. So here is Le Business Card. Okay, so this is where I got this, and what I did was I bought a D20, and it is gorgeous. At least it looks on the picture. So I haven't opened it yet. It still has the tape around it. So you're kind of getting a reveal with me, and I can't wait. Let me see here. Reading in the cat. I can read like, Bramble. Yeah, Bramble, that would be a fun voice to read in. So it is one of the larger D20s, and this is gorgeous. So it is this beautiful mix of dark greens and gold floating inside. Swirly, you can see it's catching the flecks and everything with this beautiful gold numbering. I'm also really liking the new camera. This will be quite helpful when I'm doing things over at WizKids. Hello, Dandelion. Thank you for joining. So this is the die that I got from Arcane Flora. Definitely check them out. It's Plantomancer, I want to say, on Twitter. And if you want to go, there's a website on here. She does. It's at Arcane Flora. So the business is on Twitter as well as Instagram and Facebook. All right. So do check it out. Aunt Patty. Oh, that would be fun, kids. Hey, kids, how about we do a story time with Aunt Patty? Oh, I love Patty. I really do love Aunt Patty. She's so much fun to play. And that whole auntie thing was just, but yeah, I am. God, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I have a PC in mind for this one. I think would be perfect. For this one. So I do have dice for my characters. It's my thing. It's what I do. So we have that. And then Friday Afternoon Tea. I don't know if you've come across their account on Twitter again. It's actually a wonderful tea shop in Seattle that I managed to visit last year before. Literally Seattle was my last trip out doing any type of travel. And I'm not going to say that I'm not grateful for it because I got to see a lot of my friends before, the world shut down. So I had purchased some lovely, I'm sitting right on top of the microphone. Hold on. I had purchased some fantastic tea from her. It was so delicious. And of course I've used it all up and I'm sad banana. But I ordered this, I think I ordered it Saturday and it's here now. So about a week's time. Not too shabby for a small business dealing with shipping during the now and all the craziness that is happening. I'm having a little sip, pardon me. But my favorite so far that I had from her that I purchased was called the Captain's Blend. And it's a black tea and it has fig and cacao in it. Okay. It is beautifully mellow, super yummy. I highly recommend putting in a little bit of cream and honey with it for a lovely, lovely flavor in the morning. It's also a great, no pun intended, afternoon tea. But if I can get there's the website right there, fridaytea.com. So lovely blend. I am going to have this first thing tomorrow morning. I can't wait. And then the other one I got, because I am a sucker for chai tea, I got the masala chai, which I had tried there and it was so yummy. So I've got more of that for myself too. Obviously I like it more because I got the 2 ounces, but quite reasonable in price. Like I said, delivery was fast. And then also included with it were some little freebie flavors. So I cannot wait to try this one out. And I was cackling when I saw the name. This one is Mrs. Bennett's Nerve Tonic, which quite frankly, your girl could have used this week. But so this is one of the free little samplers that got sent along. It's a 1 serving deal, but the one thing I found is that you can use it a couple times. So even though you've steeped 1 serving's worth, you can go back in and use a little bit more and get some more out of the same combination. And then this one, I can like faintly get a little whiff, but this one is Lemon Some Pie. So that's the other little freebie sample. And this one, I didn't tell you what was in that. Hold on. So in this one, in the Mrs. Bennett's Nerve Tonic, chamomile, rose, sage, lemongrass, and raspberry leaf is in that one. So very floral. I bet it's going to be extremely aromatic and a perfume kind of thing. You can comfortably get 2 steeps. Yeah. Yeah, it's like 2 steeps. I pushed it with a third. You can kind of cheat it and add in a little bit of your own, like a tea bag in as well. But Love Me Some Pie has black tea, sugar sprinkles, osmanthus flour, dark chocolate, natural lemon, and apple flavoring. Okay, maybe I'm trying this tomorrow. That sounds really good. So yeah, those were just the little purchases I wanted to share and just let everyone know that these are fantastic people to please, please, please tap into them, reach out, find them on the tweeters, find them on their other socials. That would be lovely. Again, Arcane Flora, as well as Friday Afternoon Tea, which is fridaytea.com if you want to go and order directly, and they ship, obviously, because, Seattle, New Jersey. It worked out quite well. Alrighty, so now we're gonna look in the book. The other thing I thought might be fun is, depending on what we come across as we read, maybe see if we can think of any creatures or monsters that would be good to throw into this. Like if we were to take, scout the story, not that it would ever happen, and use it for your game, not that that would ever happen, and get inspiration from it, not that that would ever happen. It totally happens with running a game. So the fun thing is that this is like the true original stuff. It's not the things that have been polished up and made to look pretty. Wonder how many stories we have to go with at the moment. This actually has a sizable, let me see here. They don't number them, but I will show you the contents. So 1 the page, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of them. 4, 5. Okay, so we have 5 scrolls of stories to read from. I am quite tempted to just sort of open and go. What do you think? Want to do that? Yeah, I'm just going to open up and just going to start reading with... Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read to you the Willow, Wren, and the Bear. I actually haven't heard of this one before, and I'm excited about it. If the music is getting too loud, let me know. I try to have some nice, comfortable, mellow piano music playing in the background. We shouldn't be getting any more advertisements again because one of my settings got I'm telling you, put new equipment in on your computer stuff and funny things happen. All right, so the Willow and the Wren. I don't know if I am going to read this in Patty's voice because that might start sounding abrasive. I could do a voice. Do you really want Patty? Maybe I'll do one of the shorter ones in Patty. All right. Once in summertime, the bear and the wolf were walking in the forest, and the bear heard a bird singing so beautifully that he said, Brother Wolf, what bird is it that sings so well? That's the king of birds, said the wolf, before whom we must bow down. It was, however, in reality, the willow wren. If that's the case, said the bear, I should very much like to see his royal palace. Come, take me thither. That is not done quite as you seem to think, said the wolf. You must wait until the queen comes. Soon afterwards the queen arrived with some food in her beak. And the Lord King came too, and they began to feed their young ones. The bear would have liked to go at once, but the wolf held him back by the sleeve and said, No, you must wait until the lord and the lady have gone away again. So they observed the hole in which there was a nest and trotted away. The bear, however, could not rest until he had seen the royal palace, and when a short time had passed, again he went to it. The king and queen had just flown out, so he peeped in and saw 5 or 6 young ones lying in it. Is that the royal palace? Cried the bear. It's a wretched palace, and you are not king's children. You are disreputable children. When the young wrens heard that, they were frightfully angry and screamed, No, that we are not. Our parents are honest people. Bear, thou wilt have pay for that. God, you can tell this is very definitely older writing. Let's see here. Oh, that would have been a good idea with the D20. The bear and the wolf grew uneasy, and they turned back and went into their holes. The young willow wrens, however, continued to cry and scream, and when their parents again brought food, they said, We will not so much as touch one fly's leg, no, not if we were dying of hunger, until you have settled whether we are respectable children or not. The bear has been here and has insulted us. Then the old king said, Be easy, he shall be punished. And he at once flew with the queen to the bear's cave and called in, Old growler, why hast thou insulted my children? Thou shalt suffer for it. We will punish thee by a bloody war. Now that's an image. I'm just picturing these little wrens going after the big bear. Thus war was announced to the bear, and all four-footed animals were summoned to take part in it: oxen, asses, cows, deer, and every other animal the earth contained. And the willow wren summoned everything which flew in the air. Not only birds, large and small, but midges and hornets, bees and flies had to come. When the time came for the war to begin, the willow wren sent out spies to discover who was the enemy's commander-in-chief. The gnat, who was most crafty, flew into the forest where their enemy was assembled, and hid herself beneath a leaf of the tree where the watchword was to be given. There stood the bear, and he called the fox before him and said, "Fox, thou art most cunning of all animals. Thou shalt be general and lead us." "Good," said the fox, "but what signal shall we agree upon?" No one knew that, so the fox said, "I have a fine long bushy tail, which almost looks like a plume of red feathers. When I lift my tail up quite high, all is going well, and you must charge. But if I let it hang down, run away as fast as you can." When the gnat had heard that, she flew away again and revealed everything, with the greatest minuteness, to the willow wren. When day broke and the battle was to begin, all four-footed animals came running up with such a noise that the earth trembled. The willow wren also came flying through the air with his army, with such humming and whirring and swarming that everyone was uneasy and afraid, and on both sides they advanced against each other. But the willow wren set down the hornet with orders to get beneath the fox's tail and sting it with all his might. When the fox felt first the sting, he started so that he drew his one leg up with pain, but he bore it, and still he kept his tail high in the air. At the second sting, he was forced to put it down for a minute. At a third, he could hold out no longer, and screamed out and put his tail between his legs. When the animals saw that, they thought all was lost and began to fly, each into his hole, and the birds had won the battle. Then the king and queen flew home to their children and cried, "Children, rejoice, eat and drink to your heart's content. We have won the battle." But the young wren said, "We will not eat. The bear must come to the nest and beg for pardon and say that we are honorable children before we will do that." Then the willow wren flew to the bear's hole and cried, "Growler, thou art to come to the nest to my children, and beg their pardon, or else the very rib of thy body shall be broken." So the bear crept thither into the greatest fear, and begged their pardon. And now at last the young wrens were satisfied, and sat down together, and ate and drank and made merry till quite late into the night. I have never heard this story before. You know, bats too would have been very cool. Have I ever heard of the Brooklyn Duo, piano and cello, great background music? I'm not sure if they're cleared for you open for copyright use is the issue. I have to be careful since I'm doing, a couple different channels and things like that the music is okay. And Techno Axe has gotten the thumbs up for both of them. But now this is one of those things, I'm reading through this, and I could very easily see this being kind of a cool one-shot setup because you have your different types of characters out there that you could play around with. So you could have like Aarakocra of different varieties on one side, and then you could have lycanthropes sort of on the other side, and have like this at odds battle. Maybe something happened, like the children instigated it and everything like that. This is the DM brain going, and basically turn this into, could be like a mini campaign. I could see this working as a one shot too. Your players come in and they actually have to either create peace, figure out which side to join and who to defeat type of thing. But that could be a really fun skeleton to set up for a story, for a campaign, for a game rather. That would be neat too. You could have, I'm trying to think. Like you could even get things like, Tabaxi's involved and Luxodon, right? Blending lore. So that could be, ooh. Hello, Christian. Greetings. Luxodon, thank you. I'm also pulling Luxon from Critical Role Exandria. That's not what I meant. But yeah, that could be a really cool, sort of have it as like two families and then the different, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. That could almost be, what setting would you put that in? Like Feywild maybe? Because then you could have, now I'm thinking. So this definitely has a lot of potential for like just quick turning it into something. Let me see here. I'm going to Snow White and Red Rose. Is that like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? This is a new one. Okay. So GIF. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, I'm putting them together. They would be lots of fun to have in there too. Oh, especially like put the GIF in charge of the bat, like be the general, because oh my god, that would be stunning. Oh, that would definitely be stunning. Have I ever been on Critical Role as a guest? Technically, I have been on Critical Role. I've been featured on Critter Hug. I was one of their featured artists in the fall. So yes, I have been on Critical Role, but not in the game itself. So it's kind of a roundabout answer for you. Oh, and seriously, Cobalt Press has so many cool. Yeah, that actually. I'm gonna keep this one for myself. Hey, Down Under Blender, how are you? I'm reading stories and then I'm letting my DM brain start like brewing and thinking and putting dots together. So yeah, if you're looking for a little quick story to apply to a game, I highly recommend the Willow, Wren, and the Bear from Grimm's Fairy Tales and turning it into like two opposite sides in opposition of each other. Now, this one is called Snow White and Red Rose. And it has me... I'm curious. Has anyone else heard of this one before? I mean, there's so many of these stories. Okay, let's take a look here. There once was a poor widow who lived in a lonely cottage. In the front of the cottage was a garden wherein stood 2 rose trees, one of which bore white and the other red roses. She had 2 children who were like the 2 rose trees, and one was called Snow White and the other Rose Red. They were as good and happy, as busy and cheerful as ever 2 children in the world were. I'm already suspicious. Only Snow White was more quiet and gentle than Rose Red. Rose Red liked better to run about the meadows and fields seeking flowers and catching butterflies, but Snow White sat at home with her mother and helped her with the housework or read to her when there was nothing to do. The 2 children were so fond of each other that they always held each other by the hand when they went out together. And when Snow White said, "We will not leave each other," they like each other. There's a lot of each other in this sentence. Rose Red answered, "Never so long as we live." And their mother would add, "What one has, she must share with the other." Oh, this is asking for trouble. Okay, so this is basically turning into V Reacts to Grimm's Fairy Tales, apparently. Oh, well, welcome to D&D, Christian. That's a lot of fun. Seriously, it is never too late to get into the game. Literally, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have some lovely experiences. Oh, yay. You know what? Don't get worked out about any advice. When you're first starting out, don't get worked up about getting everything right. Even the most experienced DMs and players will still forget something here and there. The most important thing to keep in mind is that you are enjoying yourself and that everyone else is also enjoying themselves. That is honestly what makes it the experience that everyone loves about playing D&D. So, definitely let Rule of Cool kind of be your lean-to for the beginning. And then if there's ever a question about rules that pop up, you could always look into that particular rule after the game and sort of, keep it in mind for next time. Don't let yourself get lost in the nitty-gritty of all the rules and forget about the fact that it's supposed to be something fun and enjoyable and building a story together. Okay, is really, well, that's my take. Okay, that's my take on it. Hello, Buzz Lightyear. To infinity and beyond. Hello and hi. Totally okay that you just came in to say hello. Always appreciate seeing familiar names jumping in to say hi. All right, so yeah, I think there's something is brewing here. When you tell 2 sisters you have to share everything, that's gonna cause problems. That's really gonna cause problems. Okay, let's see what happens here. They often ran about the forest alone and gathered red berries, and no beast did them any harm, but came close to them trustfully. The little hare would eat a cabbage leaf out of their hands, the roe grazed by their side, the stag leapt merrily by them, and the birds sat still upon the boughs and sang whatever they knew. No mishap overtook them. If they had stayed too late in the forest and night came on, they laid themselves down near one another upon the moss and slept until morning came, and their mother knew this and had no distress on their account. I'm sorry, what? Hello, Paul. Okay. This mother is interesting. Okay. So, once they had spent the night in the wood, and the dawn had roused them, and they saw a beautiful child in a shining white dress sitting near their bed. He got up and looked quite kindly at them, but said nothing and went away into the forest. And when they looked round, they found that they had been sleeping quite close to a precipice, and would certainly have fallen into it in the darkness if they had not gone only a few paces further. And their mother told them that it must have been the angel who watches over good children. Yeah, that wouldn't happen now. Exactly. The rules are like guidelines, Viper. Snow White and Rose Red kept their mother's little cottage so neat that it was a pleasure to look inside it. In the summer, Rose Red took care of the house, and every morning laid a wreath of flowers by her mother's bed before she awoke, in which was a rose from each tree. In the winter, Snow White lit the fire and hugged the kettle on the reckon. The kettle was of copper and shone like gold, so brightly was it polished. In the evening, when the snowflakes fell, the mother said, "Go, Snow White, and bolt the door." And they sat round the hearth, and the mother took her spectacles and read aloud out of a large book, and the two girls listened as they sat and span. And close by them lay a lamb upon the floor, and behind them upon a perch sat a white dove with its head hidden beneath its wings. Oh, fun. One evening, as they were thus sitting comfortably together, someone knocked on the door as if he wished to be let in. The mother said, "Quick, Rose Red, open the door. It must be a traveler who is seeking shelter." Rose Red went and pushed back the bolt, thinking it was a poor man, but it was not. It was a bear that stretched its broad, black head within the door. Okay, pause button. I almost lived this because there was actually a black bear that crawled up on top of my deck a few years ago, right near our kitchen window. And yeah, that almost had a bear in the house. That was very interesting. That is unbearable, Synaptic Fire. I agree. I'm very curious as to where this story is going. I already have like little things that I'm kind of like, Rose Red screamed and sprang back. The lamb bleated, the dove fluttered, and Snow White hid herself behind her mother's bed. But the bear began to speak and said, "Do not be afraid. I will do you no harm." Let's see, a bear voice. "I'm half frozen and only want to warm myself a little beside you." Yes, we'll go with that. "Poor bear," said the mother. "Lie down by the fire and only take care that you do not burn your coat." Then she cried, "Snow White, Rose Red, come out. The bear will do you no harm. He means well." So they both came out, and by the lamb and the dove came nearer, and they were not afraid of him. The bear said, "Here, children, knock the snow out of my coat a little." So they brought the broom and swept the bear's hide clean, and he stretched himself by the fire and growled contentedly and comfortably. It was not long before they grew quiet at home, and they played tricks with their clumsy guest. They tugged his hair with their hands and put their feet upon his back and rolled him about. What? And rolled him about, or they took a hazel switch and beat him, and when he growled, they laughed. This is not neighborly behavior, folks. Like, don't poke the bear. They're taunting the bear. Bearskin Rock. Oh, the puns! But the bear took it all in good part. Only when they were too rough, he called out, "Leave me alive, children." "Snowy White, Rosy Red, will you beat your lover dead?" I'm not kidding, that was just there. When it was bedtime, the others went to bed, and the mother said to the bear, "You can lie there by the hearth, and then you'll be safe from the cold and the bad weather." As soon as day dawned, the two children let him out, and he trotted across the snow in the forest. Henceforth the bear came every evening at the same time, laid himself down by the hearth, and let the children amuse themselves with him as much as they liked. And they got so used to him that the doors were never fastened until their black friend had arrived. When spring had come and all outside was green, the bear said one morning to Snow White, "Now I must go away and cannot come back the whole summer." "Where are you going then, dear bear?" asked Snow White. "I must go into the forest and guard my treasures from the wicked dwarfs." What? Okay. In the winter, when the earth is frozen hard, they are obliged to stay below and cannot work their way through. But now, when the sun has thawed and warmed the earth, they break through it and they come out to pry and steal. And what once gets into their hands and in their caves does not easily see daylight again. What are you dealing with, Durgar? Snow White was quite sorry for his going away as she unbolted the door for him, and the bear was hurrying out. He caught against the bolt, and a piece of his hair coat was torn off, and it seemed to Snow White as if she had seen gold shining through it, but she was not sure about it. The bear ran away quickly and was soon out of sight behind the trees. Okay, so tuft of hair is taken out of the bear's coat. We see a flash of gold. Shape-shifting. All is not as it seems. I mean, heck, it's a talking bear, so whatever. A short time afterwards, the mother sent her children into the forest to get firewood. There they found a big tree which lay felled on the ground, and close by the trunk was something jumping backwards and forwards in the grass, but they could not make out what it was. When they came near, they saw a dwarf, an old withered face and snowy white beard with a beard a yard long. The end of the beard was caught in the crevice of the tree, and the little fellow was jumping backwards and forwards like a dog tied to a rope, and did not know what to do. He glared at the girls with his fire red eyes and cried, dwarf voice. Let's see here. I just saw the yellow submarine randomness. A bit, yes. Why do you stand there? Can you not come and help me? What are you about there, little man? Asked Rose Red. You stupid prying goose, answered the dwarf. I was going to split the tree a little for wood cooking. The little bit of food that one of us wants to get burnt up directly with thick logs. We do not swallow so much as you coarse, greedy folk. I had just driven the wedge safely in, and everything was going as wished. But the wretched wood was too smooth and suddenly sprang asunder, and the tree closed so quickly that I could not pull my beautiful white beard. So now it is in tight, and I cannot get away, and the silly, sleek, milk-faced things laughed. Ugh, how odious you are! The children tried very hard, but they could not pull out the beard. It was caught too fast. I will run and fetch someone, said Rose Red. You senseless goose, snarled the dwarf. Why should you fetch someone? You are alone. You are already too many for me. Can you not think of something better? Don't be impatient, said Snow White. I will help you. And she pulled her scissors out of her pocket and cut the end of the beard off. Well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? Just my opinion. As soon as the dwarf felt himself free, he laid hold of a bag which lay amongst the roots of the trees, and which was full of gold, and lifted it up, grumbling to himself, Uncouth people to cut off a piece of my fine beard, but bad luck to you. And he swung the bag upon his back and went off without even looking at the children. Some time after that, Snow White and Rose Red went to catch a dish of fish. Now we're Seuss. As they came near the brook, they saw something like a large grasshopper jumping towards the water, as if it were going to leap in. They ran to it and found it was the dwarf. Oh my God. This dwarf is having some problems here. Where are you going? Said Rose Red. You surely don't want to go in the water. Oh, and here we have picture. Here we go. Picture of the dwarf, Snow White and Rose Red. All right, so here we go. That's what it looks like.
This is what the picture looks like, children.
Da-da-da. You surely don't want to go in the water.
I'm no such fool, cried the dwarf.
Don't you
Don't you see that the accursed fish wants to pull me in?
The little man had been sitting there fishing, and unluckily, the wind had twisted his beard with the fishing line. Just then a big fish bit, and the feeble creature had not the strength to pull it out. The fish kept under the hand and pulled the dwarf towards him. He held on to all the reeds and rushes, but it was of little good. He was forced to follow the movements of the fish and was in an urgent danger of being dragged into the water. I think someone needs to, Now if she found the Gordian knot, she'd rule a whole region. That's a very good point. The girls came just in time. They held him fast and tried to free his beard from this line, but all in vain. Beard and line were entangled fast together. Nothing was left but to bring out the scissors and cut the beard, whereby a small part of it was lost. When the dwarf saw that, he screamed out,
Is that a civil, you toadstool, to disfigure one's face? Was it not enough to clip off the end of my beard? Now you have been made to run the soles of your shoes.
Okay. Then he took out a sack of pearls. Ooh. Okay, I'm here for the sack of pearls. Then he took out a sack of pearls which lay in the rushes, and without saying a word more, he dragged it away and disappeared behind a stone. It happened that soon afterwards the mother sent the two children into town to buy needles and threads and laces and ribbons. The road led them across a heath, upon which a huge
which huge pieces of rock lay strewn here and there. Now they noticed a large bird hovering in the air, flying slowly round and round above them. It sank lower and lower, and at last settled near a rock not far off. Directly afterwards they heard a loud, piteous cry. They ran upon and saw with horror that the eagle had seized their old acquaintance, the dwarf, and was going to carry him off. The children, full of pity, at once took tight hold of the little man and pulled against the eagle so long that at last he let his booty go. Yes, the word was booty. As soon as the dwarf had recovered from his first fright, he cried with a shrill voice, "Could you not have done it more carefully? You dragged my brown coat so that it's all torn and full of holes, you clumsy, helpless creatures." Then he took up a sack full of precious stones and slipped what is it with this guy? And slipped away again under the rock into his hole. The girls, who were by this time used to his thanklessness, went on their way and did their business in town. As they crossed the heath again on their way home, they surprised the dwarf, who had emptied out his bag of precious stones in a clean spot, and had not thought that any would come upon them so late. The evening sun shone upon the brilliant stones. They glittered and sparkled with all colors so beautifully that the children stood still and looked at them. "Why do you stand a-gaping there?" cried the dwarf, and his ashen-gray face became copper-red with rage. He was going on with his bad words when a loud growling was heard, and the black bear came trotting towards them out of the forest. The dwarf sprang up in a fright, but he could not get to his cave, for the bear was already close. Then in dread, his heart, he cried, "Dear Mr. Bear, spare me, I will give you all my treasures. Look, the beautiful jewels lying there. Grant me my life. What do you want with such a slender little fellow as I? You would not feel me between your teeth. Come, take these 2 wicked girls. They are tender morsels for you, fat young quails. For mercy's sake, eat them." Then the bear took no heed of his words, but gave the wicked creature a single blow with his paw, and he did not move again. Hey, the D&D grandma, I'm just finishing up this very perturbing story. The girls had run away, but the bear called for them. "Snow White and Rose Red, do not be afraid. Wait, I will come with you." Then they all knew his voice and waited, and when he came to them suddenly, his bear skin fell off, and okay. And there stood a handsome man clothed all in gold. "I am a king's son," he said. "I was bewitched by that wicked dwarf who had stolen my treasures. I have had to go run about the forest as a savage bear until I was freed by his death. Now he has got his well-deserved punishment. Snow White was married to him, and Rose Red to his brother, and they divided between them the great treasures, which the dwarf had gathered together in his cave. The old mother lived peacefully and happily with her children for many years. She took the 2 rose trees with her. They stood before her window, and every year bore the most beautiful roses, white and red." I'm sorry. Okay, raise of hands. Show your hands, or like put a little high five emoji in the chat if you can. I don't know if you can in YouTube, but what the heck was that? We started off with, I seriously thought it was going to be some like cautionary tale of the sisters like not wanting to share something, right? Just from what the mother had said. You shall not share. Because the mother said to share. Well, that didn't happen. Then we have this bear come in, and they're treating the bear kind of poorly, like they're teasing it and everything while it's sleeping, but he's still like, "Okay, hi, I like you." Then this dwarf comes in out of nowhere. They save the dwarf a couple times. Third time, ungrateful little fool gets, knocked off, almost quite literally, by the bear, who turns out to be a handsome prince. I don't know what I would do with this story. I find this rather perturbing. I mean, bits of it could be... Okay, so the dwarf could be a fun, reoccurring NPC that you could kind of like dribble in as sort of side quest mode. And instead of his running off with the sacks, it is very Yellow Submarine. It really is. So you could have it, let's see. You could have it where this dwarf has maybe stolen the 3 sacks from the prince or something when the prince was traveling in the woods. And then the party has to go and try and find this dwarf and find the sacks. Don't mind me. You could have it where, or the story with the prince being turned into the bear, and somehow you have to help him out. That could be another cool little side quest deal to incorporate into your game. I think we're kind of missing the mark, though, with the sisters. I could not imagine reading this to the kids during story time. I think some children might be like, "They killed the dwarf? What?" Um, it is an interesting take. I find it rather curious. But the story itself, as it is, I don't think I would want to do much of it because it's one of those. If I didn't know any better, I'd say someone was having a little bit too much fun with some wacky weed. Let's put it that way. All right, I figured do about 3 of these. So maybe the mom and the sisters are actually, oh, that's a fun idea. Turn it into a hag coven. That's a really, I like that synaptic. So you could almost have it where, the mother's sort of the head, and then you have the 2 sisters almost like, combating each other. It is a bit weird, Ron. I agree. This is a little bit weird. I do like that for the sisters and the mother. Kind of apply them, one's all in white, one's all in red. The other one you could almost have, as a, maybe in green if you wanted to. But yeah, that was rather curious. And they did have the other animals in there because they had the lamb and the dove, so they could be familiars. You're onto something with that synaptic fire. I like that idea for them. I can resolve myself with that one. Okay, so we've done Snow White and Rose Red. Not at all the story I thought we were going to run into. Like, not in the least. Let's see what else we have going on here. The Devil with 3 Golden Hairs. I have no idea where this is going to go. Christian. I smoke on the daily and can't twist a story like that. Hair, Hairs. That's a very good question because, bunny rabbit type of hairs. Stuff happens in mind. Yeah, that was an interesting one. So let's see what happens here with the devil with 3 golden hairs. Okay, not, boingy, boingy, boingy. Technical terms. There once was a poor woman who gave birth to a little son, and as he came into the world with a call on, it was predicted that his 14th year he would have the king's daughter for his wife. Well, that's auspicious. It happened that soon afterwards the king came into the village, and no one knew that he was the king. And when he asked the people what news there was, they answered, "A child has just been born with a call on. Whatever anyone so born undertakes turns out well. It is prophesied, too, that on his 14th year he will have the king's daughter for his wife." The king, who had a bad heart, don't they always, and was angry about the prophecy, went to the parents and seeming quite friendly, said, Your poor people, let me have your child, and I will take care of it." At first they refused, but when the stranger offered them a large amount of gold for it, notice they're saying it. I mean, at least use the kid's name. At first they refused, but when the stranger offered them a large amount of gold for it, and they thought, "It is a luck child, and everything must turn out well for it," they at last consented and gave him the child. Okay. This is Grimm's. The king put... Not kidding, this is what it says. The king put it in a box and rode away with it until he came into a deep piece of water. Then he threw the box into it and thought, "I have freed my daughter from her unlooked-for suitor." Oh, the king is a real gem here, folks. The box, however, did not sink, but floated like a boat, and not a drop of water made its way into it. And it floated to within 2 miles of the king's chief city, where there was a mill, and it came to stand still at the mill dam. A miller's boy, who by good luck was standing there, noticed it and pulled it out with a hook, thinking that he had found a great treasure. But when he opened it, there lay a pretty boy inside, quite fresh and lively. He took him to the miller and his wife, and as they had no children, they were glad and said, "God has given us to him." They took great care of the foundling, and he grew up in all goodness. It happened that once in a storm, the king went into the mill, and he asked the mill folk if a tall youth was their son. "No," they answered, "he's a foundling. 14 years ago he floated down the mill in a box, and the mill boy pulled him out of the water." The king, this is always the way. Then the king knew that it was none other than the luck child which he had thrown into the water, and he said, "My good people, could not the youth take a letter to the queen? I will give him 2 gold pieces as a reward." "Just as the king commands," answered they. And they told the boy to hold himself in readiness. Then the king wrote a letter to the queen, wherein he said, "As soon as the boy arrives with this letter, let him be killed and buried, and all must be done before I come home." Oh. It is somewhat like the retelling of the story of Moses, the whole basket and floating down the Nile, but yeah, I'm not liking the king is going to make an awesome villain. I think the king is the perfect archetype setup going on here. Will I read on a Friday night? Yeah, I'm going to try and see if I can do this more often on Friday evenings, just for some funsies. The boy set out with this letter, but he lost his way, and in the evening came into a large forest. In the darkness he saw a small light, and he went toward it and reached a cottage. When he went in, an old woman was sitting by the fire, quite alone. She started when she saw the boy and said, "Whence do you come, and whither are you going?" "I'm from the mill," he answered, wish to go to the queen, to whom I am taking a letter. But as I have lost my way in the forest, I should like to stay here overnight. "You poor boy," said the woman, "you have come into a den of thieves, and when they come home, they will kill you." "Let them come," said the boy. "I'm not afraid. I am so tired that I cannot go any farther." And he stretched himself upon a bench and fell asleep. Okay, like you do. Soon afterwards, the robbers came and angrily asked what strange boy was lying there. "Ah," said the old woman, "it is an innocent child who has lost himself in the forest, and out of pity I have let him come in. He has to take a letter to the queen." The robbers opened the letter and read it, and in it was written that the boy, as soon as he arrived, should be put to death. Then the hard-hearted robbers felt pity. And the leader tore up the letter and wrote another saying that as soon as the boy came, he should be married at once to the king's daughter. Then they let him lie quietly on the bench until the next morning, and when he awoke, they gave him the letter and showed him the right way. And the queen, when she received the letter and read it, did as was written in it, and had a splendid wedding feast prepared, and the king's daughter was married to the luck child. And as the youth was handsome and agreeable, she lived with him in joy and contentment. Oh my, that didn't take the turn the king was hoping. After some time, the king returned to his palace and saw that the prophecy was fulfilled, and the luck child married his daughter. "How has that come to pass?" he said. "I gave quite another order in my letter." So the queen gave him the letter and said he might see for himself what was written in it. The king read the letter and saw quite well that it had been exchanged for the other. He asked the youth what had become of the letter entrusted to him, and why had he brought another instead of it. "I know nothing about it," he answered. "It must have been changed in the night when I slept in the forest." The king said in a passion, "You shall not have everything quite so much your own way. Whosoever marries my daughter must fetch me from hell 3 golden hairs from the head of—" Oh, that's right. That's right. This is a devil with 3 golden hairs. Oh, Viper. The story is written by the post office, isn't it? It is a rather wandering story, is it not? "Bring me what I want, and you shall keep my daughter." In this way, the king had hoped to be rid of him forever, but the luck child answered, "I will fetch the golden hairs. I am not afraid of the devil." Thereupon he took leave of them and began his journey. Okay, dude's game. Let's see where this goes. The road led him to a large town, where the watchman by the gates asked him what his trade was and what he knew. "I know everything," answered the luck child. "Then you can do us a favor," said the watchman. "If you will tell us why our market fountain, which once flowed with wine, has become dry and no longer gives even water." "That you shall know," answered he. "Only wait until I come back." Then he went farther and came to another town. So, Boyo here is all-knowing as well? I don't know about this. Then he went farther and came to another town, and there also the gatekeeper asked him what was his trade and what he knew. "I know everything," answered he. "Then you can do us a favor and tell us why a tree in our town, which once bore golden apples, now does not even put forth leaves." "You shall know that," answered he. "Only wait until I come back." Oh no! Synaptic. It's good. That was good. That was a good one. Um. Then he went and came to a wide river over which he must go. The ferryman asked him what his trade was and what he knew. I know everything, answered he. Then you can do me a favor, said the ferryman, and tell me why I must always be rowing backwards and forwards and am never set free. Okay, so clearly we have a few riddles starting to happen here, so those could be helpful for a game. You shall have the you shall know that, answered he. Only wait until I come back. You know, this guy sounds like he was like answering an email. You know what? Let me get back to you on that one. He's like the earlier version of let me get back to you on that one. When he had crossed the water, he found the entrance to hell. It was black and sooty within, and the devil was not at home. Oh, shucks. But his grandmother was sitting in a large armchair. What do you want? She said to him, but she did not look so very wicked. I should like to have 3 golden hairs from the devil's head, answered he, else I cannot keep my wife. That is a good deal to ask for, said she. If the devil comes home and finds you, it will cost you your life, but as I pity you, I will see if I cannot help you. She changed him into an ant and said, Creep up into the folds of my dress, you will be safe there. Yes, answered he, so far so good, but there are 3 things besides that I want to know. Why a fountain which once flowed with wine is now dry and will no longer even give water. Why a tree which once bore golden apples does not even put forth leaves, and why a ferryman must always be going backwards and forwards and is never set free. Those are difficult questions, answered she, but only be silent and quiet and pay attention to what the devil says when I pull out 3 golden hairs. Ant-Man. Oh, yeah, it is kind of like Ant-Man. As the evening came on, the devil returned home. No sooner had he entered than he noticed the air was not pure. I smell man's flesh, he said. All is not right here. Then he pried into every corner in search, but he could not find anything. His grandmother scolded him. It has just been swept, she said, and everything put in order. And now you are upsetting it again. You have always got a man's flesh in your nose. Sit down and eat your supper. When he had eaten and drunk, he was tired, and he laid his head in his grandmother's lap, and before long he was fast asleep, snoring and breathing heavily. Then the old woman took hold of a golden hair and pulled it out and laid it down near her. Oh, cried the devil, what are you doing? I have had a bad dream, answered the grandmother. So I seized a hold of your hair. What did you dream of then? Said the devil. I dreamed that a fountain in the marketplace from which wine once flowed was dried up, and not even water flowed out of it. What is the cause of it? Oh ho, if they don't know it, answered the devil. There is a toad sitting under a stone in the well. If they killed it, the wine would flow again. Okay. So I'm guessing no one checked for clogs in the fountain. Okay. He went to sleep again and snored until the windows shook. Then she pulled the second hair out. Ha! What are you doing? Cried the devil angrily. Do not take ill, said she. I did it in a dream. What have you dreamt this time? Asked he. I dreamt that a certain kingdom there stood an apple tree, which once had borne golden apples, but now would not even bear leaves. What, think you, was the reason? Oh, if they did but know, answered the devil. A mouse is gnawing at its root. If they killed this, then they will have golden apples again. But if it gnaws much longer, the tree will wither altogether. But leave me alone with your dreams. If you disturb me in my sleep again, you will get a box on the ear. Oh, that's not good. Hello, Jolene. It is so good to see you. If you're missing the painting videos, I'm actually over on WizKids YouTube channel every Wednesday, and about once a month I do a painting stream with their Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures or Pathfinder Battles deep cuts or their own deep cuts lines. So you can come on over. It's basically the same time that Lunch Break livestream used to be. So come on. Yeah, ear cuts. And I love the they sent Timmy down, but Lassie saved him too quickly. Nice. Okay, the grandmother spoke gently to him until he fell asleep again and snored. Then she took hold of the third golden hair and pulled it out. The devil jumped up and roared out, and would have treated her ill if she had not quieted him once more and said, Who can help bad dreams? What was the dream then? He asked, and he was quite curious. I dreamed of a ferryman who complained he must always ferry from one side to the other and was never released. What is the cause of it? Ah, the fool, answered the devil. When anyone comes and wants to go across, he must put the oar in his hand. The other man will have to ferry, and he will be free. And as the grandmother had plucked out 3 golden hairs, and 3 questions were answered, she let the old serpent alone, and he slept until daybreak. When the devil had gone out again, the old woman took the ant out of the folds of her dress, and gave the luck child his human shape again. There are 3 golden hairs for you, she said. What the devil has said to you, 3 questions I suppose you heard. Yes, answered he. I heard and will take care to remember. You have what you want, she said, and now you can go your way. You can go your own way. Yes, that's where my brain just went. He thanked the old woman for helping him in his need and left hell well. Heard that right. Content that everything had turned out so fortunately. When he came to the ferryman, he was expected to give the promised answer. Ferry me across first, said the luck child, and then I will tell you how you can be set free. When he reached the opposite side of the shore, he gave him the devil's advice. Next time anyone comes who wants to be ferried over, just put the oar in his hand. He went on and came to the town wherein stood the unfruitful tree, and there 2 watchmen wanted the answer. So he told him what he had heard from the devil. Kill the mouse which is gnawing at its root, and it will again bear golden apples. Then the watchman thanked him and gave him a reward. What? They gave him a reward of 2 asses laden with gold? I have thoughts, but okay. At last he came to the town where the well was dry. He told the watchman what the devil had said. A toad is in the well beneath a stone. You must find it and kill it, and the well will live again and give wine in plenty. The watchman thanked him and also gave him... Okay, so Kiddo now has 4 asses laden with gold. Escalated quickly. Maverick, yes. At last, the luck child got home to his wife, who was heartily glad to see him again, and to hear how well he had prospered in everything. To the king he took what he had asked for, the devil's 3 golden hairs, and when the king saw the 4 asses laden with gold, he was quite content and said, Now all the conditions are fulfilled, and you can keep my daughter. But tell me, dear son-in-law, where did all that gold come from? This is tremendous wealth. I was rowed across the river, answered he, and got it there. It lies on the shore instead of the sand. Can I fetch some of it? Said the king, and he was quite eager about it. As much as you like, answered he. There is a ferryman on the river. Oh, there's a ferryman on the river. Let him ferry you over, and you can fill your sacks on the other side. The greedy king set out in all haste, and when he came to the river, he beckoned the ferryman to put him across. The ferryman came to him and bade him get in, and when they got to the other shore, he put the oar in his hand and sprang out. But from this time forth, the king had to ferry as punishment for his sins. Perhaps he is ferrying still. If he is, it is because no one had taken the oar from him. Hey now, I like that. That was clever. Left hell well. What 2 asses laden with... I know. That's the fun thing, honestly, about reading the old stories, the Grimm's fairy tales in their true form, not the polished and cleaned up golden book, Disney, so on and so forth, variety, because they're interesting. They also get to be a little convoluted in and of themselves at some points, but I think this one, it kind of has, like, the skeleton of it is good. I like the whole thing where you have sort of this, I like that synaptic. You have this whole setup where it could be, someone is of a auspicious birthright beginning and you have to help them achieve or whatever and kind of use them as a driving force of the story. You have the king who's sort of out against him, the typical villain sort of lurking in the shadows, going to make things difficult for, whether it's the party, whether it's the individual that the party is protecting. Throw in some riddles for fun, get that going. And there's elements to the story I could see being incorporated. I don't know if I'd want to use the whole story as fodder for a game, but there were some elements. Yeah, Ron, there are some elements in there I think that could be a lot of, that could be helpful to incorporate. I think, like, you could even draw it out. You could draw it out instead of them getting the riddles per se. Like, get riddles set up and use that for, like, the devil scene. But I think the towns could also be something that could be explored more. Help the towns out because this is going on, and then you get this reward type of thing. So you could sort of extend the story and grow it out that way. But yeah, it definitely has some potential to it. And I totally forgot that there was going to be a devil with 3 golden hairs after we were, talking about the king and the whole, like, you shall not marry my daughter, and yes, I will. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, so it's been about an hour. And I'm enjoying this. Hopefully all y'all are enjoying enjoying this as well. So I think what I'll do is, I don't know. Do you like Grimm's, or do you think, switch over to something else? Also, lots of places for players to sidetrack in the story. That is true, Maverick. Oh, if they go down the well, speak with the tree. Ooh, okay. So yeah, there are these different elements we could expand upon them and build it out more. So like I said, this skeleton of the story could really be something. You probably could get like a mini campaign out of this one. I don't know, full throttle campaign, but there are some things that could be cool in here. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. If they go down the well, speak with the tree, and so on. Let's see, the ferryman could be another situation. Yeah, there's some neat thing. Oh, your daughter's enjoying this? Oh, I'm so glad. Do we want to do like one more short itty bitty one? I can't speak for much longer because my voice is starting to go and I was talking a lot today. Let me see. Ron, I'll read one small little blippet. Let me find a smaller one as one last little hurrah. Where were the shorter ones? The Good Bargain. The Wonderful Musician. That looks promising. Or it sounds promising, I should say. All right, I'll do The Wonderful Musician. It's just like a little... Okay, so we'll just do The Wonderful Musician. I know we're already thinking bard. Let's see if it's a bard. Don't judge before you know. There you go. I'll read it as Cantriell. Cantriell, my bard. That's Dawnbringers on Thursday over on Mini Terrain Domain at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay. There once was a wonderful musician who went quite along through a forest and thought of all manners of things, and when nothing was left for him to think about, he said to himself, "Time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither a good companion for myself." There he took his fiddle from his back and played so that it echoed through the trees. It was not long before a wolf came trotting through the thicket toward him. "Ah, here is a wolf coming. I have no desire for him," said the musician. But the wolf came nearer and said to him, "Ah, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too." "It is soon learnt," the musician replied. "Thou hast only do all I bid thee." "O musician," said the wolf, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys the master." The musician bade him follow. I'm going to drop the voice because actually my throat is going. The musician bade him follow, and when they had gone part of the way together, they came to an old oak tree, which was hollow inside and cleft in the middle. "Look," said the musician, "if thou wilt learn to fiddle, put thy forepaw into the crevice." The wolf obeyed, but the musician quickly picked up a stone and with one blow wedged his two paws in so fast that he was forced to stay like a prisoner. "Stay there until I come back again," said the musician, and went his way. I think PETA is going to have some, although I have issues with PETA. But yeah, I'm not too nuts about the whole animal cruelty thing going on here. The wolf just wanted to learn how to play an instrument, for God's sake. After a while, he said again to himself, "Time is beginning to pass heavily. With me here in the forest, I will fetch hither another companion," and took his fiddle again and played in the forest. It was not long before a fox came creeping through the trees toward him. "Ah, there is a fox coming," said the musician. "I have no desire for him." The fox came up to him and said, "Oh, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too." "That is soon learnt," said the musician. "Thou hast only to do everything that I bid thee." "O musician, then," said the fox, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master." "Follow me," said the musician, and when they had walked part of the way, they came to a footpath with high bushes on both sides of it. There the musician stood still, and from one side bent a young hazel bush down to the ground and put his foot on top of it. Then he bent down a young tree from the other side as well and said, "Now, little fox, if thou wouldst learn something, give me thy left front paw." The fox obeyed, and the musician fashioned his paw to the left bough. "Little fox," he said, "now reach me with thy right paw," and he tied it to the right bough. When he had examined whether they were firm enough, he let go, and the bushes sprang up and jerked the little fox so that it hung struggling in the air. I don't like this musician. I don't like this musician. When he examined whether they were firm enough, there we go. "Wait till I come back again," so the musician went his way. Again he said to himself, this is the musician, Time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither another companion. So he took his fiddle, and the sound echoed through the forest. Then a little hare, boingy, boingy, boingy hare, not hair. That's going to be a thing, isn't that? Then a little hare came springing towards him. Why, a hare is coming, said the musician. I do not want him. Ah, dear musician, said the hare, how beautifully thou dost fiddle. I too should like to learn that. That is soon learnt, said the musician. Thou hast only to do everything that I bid thee. Oh, musician, replied the hare, I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master. Then they went part of the way together until they came upon an open space in the forest where stood an aspen tree. The musician tied a long string round the hare's neck and the other end which she fashioned to the tree. Now, briskly, little hare, run 20 times round the tree, cried the musician, and the little hare obeyed. And when he had run round 20 times, he had twisted the string 20 times round the trunk of the tree, and the little hare was caught, and left to pull and tug as it like, only made the string cut into his tender neck. This guy's awful. Wait till I come back, said the musician, and went onwards. The wolf in the meantime had pushed and pulled and bitten at the stone, and had worked so long that he set his feet at liberty and had drawn them once more out of the cleft. Full of anger and rage, he hurried after the musician and went to tear him to pieces. When the fox saw him running, he began to lament and cried with all his might, Brother Wolf, come to my help, the musician has betrayed me. The wolf drew down the little tree and bit the cord in two and freed up the fox, who went with him to take revenge on the musician. They found the tied-up hare, whom likewise they delivered, and then they all sought the enemy together. Yes! A horrible bunny. The musician, right? Yes. The musician had once more played his fiddle as he went on his way, and this time he had been more fortunate. The sound reached the ears of a poor woodcutter who instantly, whether he would or no, gave up his work and came with his hatchet under his arm to listen to the music. At last comes the right companion, said the music, for I was seeking a human being and no wild beast. And he began and played so beautifully and delightfully that the poor man stood there as if bewitched. His heart leaped with gladness. And when he thus turned, the wolf and the fox and hare came upon him, and he saw well that they had some evil design. So he raised his glittering axe and placed himself before the musician as if to say, Who wishes to touch him, let him beware, for he will have to do with me. Then the beasts were terrified and ran back into the forest. The musician, however, played once more to the man out of gratitude and then went onwards. Okay, I have thoughts. So, you could almost like deconstruct the story a little bit in that you almost treat it sort of in reverse, but like the party would come upon the animals in their current trapped states. And like they'd help the animals out and find out more about this musician. It turns out this musician has been like going around the forest and doing these horrible things to people, like hypnotizing them, keeping these poor little animals trapped and everything like that. And it could become the party's, mission to stop this demented bard person. So that could be something. That could be something story-wise where you'd have an interesting little side quest. Like they go to this village and they're suddenly finding like all these stories like, oh, we found this poor little bunny rabbit that was trapped up and this like type of thing. And then this woodcutter went missing. We don't know what's happened to him. He was so diligent at his job. And then it kind of comes out of this thing of like, oh, it's been this horrible musician this whole time. Animals, they could be polymorphed NPCs. Oh, I like that. Oh, that could be really cool. Like add a little flavor to the bard. The bard turned them into the animals. Like if it actually was people to begin with, but then he turned them into the animals. Ooh. So this one actually has a lot that could be worked with for a little quest right there. I like that. And that was actually the shortest one of them all. Kids. The bard. Yes. Okay, see? Chaotic evil. I like that. Yeah, this actually, it is a good idea for a villain. It's a little bizarre. I agree. But there's some fun, like weaving some magic, weaving some combat. That could be a lot of fun to do. I like this one. Excuse me, let me pencil. Pardon me. I am going to put a star next to this one. I'm not a snob about books. I will mark them up. So that was interesting. That was a cool one. Okay, so we got 4 little stories in for this sort of story time on the Friday evening for your story time hour. But this was fun to do. So let's see. Next Friday. I don't know if I can do next Friday because I might be doing the Nerdarchy game. That's the only thing with Friday nights is there will be a Friday that I'm going to have to take off here and there because of my playing in the Nerdarchy game.
which the name I am blanking on right now. Something our cat. I totally forgot what the name of it is because we were floating around a couple different names. If you have children involved, it almost becomes like Pied Piper. Oh, that's an interesting connect the dots there. I like that. Okay, so this is actually a lot of fun. I like the whole like taking the stories and sort of keying into pieces that could actually work well for gameplay. Thank you, Christian. But yeah, this was fun. So I will plan on hopefully, if not next Friday, can't do Thursdays. Thursdays are sacred. Those are Dawnbringers night. Maybe I could do Saturday. No, I can't do Saturday next week because I'll be guest playing for Jasper's game day event. So next week looks like it's out. Let's just put it that way. Next week is not going to be possible, but maybe Sunday. I will basically follow me on my socials. How's that? You can find me, especially Twitter. That is the best place to find me. That is where I am most active. That is where I do the most updating. So keep an eye out on my Twitter account. Make sure you follow me. I will update you in terms of when I'm going to be doing some more of these. And I'm really very much getting a kick out of doing this whole let's read a story and let's kind of spin it and make it into something more. So until whenever I see you again here on my channels, I hope you all have a lovely, restful weekend. Restful most of all. You know, everyone needs some little recoup time. And then you can also find me Wednesday afternoon over on WizKids YouTube channel for Mini Mayhem. I'm going to be finishing up painting. Nope, other side. I'm going to be finishing up painting Esperia Law Incarnate from the Magic the Gathering. So she's in process of getting completed. And then Thursday is Dawnbringers. That's on Mini Terrain Domain at 8:30 p.m. Thursday night. And then Friday night, I may have the game over on Nerdarchy. That starts at 8 p.m. And then Saturday, I have a 7 p.m. game, which I got to tweet that information again too. So busy in those realms. Lots of gameplay, which is always great. But this was just lovely to have a nice mellow thing. And don't forget, check out Arcane Flora for gorgeous DAS. For those of you who came later, what did I do with it? For those of you who came later, I unpackaged some lovely items from people in the tabletop community who have these beautiful small businesses. And I got this gorgeous D20, one of those large D20s. And it's this beautiful green and gold flecks with gold lettering. It's stunning. I like it a lot. And then I also got some teas from Friday Afternoon Tea. Based in Seattle. This is, the chai. And then I also got the Captain's Blend, which is another lovely blend. It's one of my favorite ones. And she sent me a couple samples too. So check those out as well. Have a great Friday evening, everyone. Thank you so much. This was lovely. This was nice and restful. And I'll wrap it up like I love to wrap it up every single time. Please be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Night, everyone. Mwah.